Hey everybody, welcome back. Going to be talking about this custom 72 Datsun 240Z from the RLC today. And man, what a quick turnaround time on this. I think it was like a week and a half from the time we ordered these to the time they started showing up. And really sought after casting, but I've not seen near the people complaining about not being able to get this as definitely the pink Skyline, but even the red 454SS this morning. So hopefully if you wanted one of these, you were able to pick it up. If not, then hopefully we can show you some of the details that you're interested in today. Whether you just haven't gotten yours yet or you weren't able to pick it up at all. And especially if you're looking to pick one of these up from a third party, hopefully I can show you what you need to know to help you make that decision about whether you want to buy this or not. Guys, before we get started, if this is something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit that like button. I will say that this is my favorite way to get my cars from the RLC. Comes in this box here if you're not familiar with the setup. And I like this. Sometimes they come in a regular card with a card keeper, but I like this because I'm not ruining packaging if I want to take it out and display it. Comes with a really nice case cover here. A little bit of story about the car. I won't get into that here. But as we go, I will say if you do get this and you want to take this cover off, of course there is a little plastic piece that comes in here to kind of keep things in place. I think that's also to protect it if for some reason these screws back out and it comes loose. But the past few cases I've had have been a little bit harder to open, so a tip I will give you, and I'm probably going to make it look funky here, but I usually have to take my thumb and kind of push the whole thing, rock it toward the back a little bit, and that generally tends to help me get this off. Now, going ahead and starting with the car here, one of the first things we'll look at, obviously, is this is shadow chrome. A lot of people in the past have either loved or hated the shadow chrome. I don't think it'll be as big of a deal on this car because it's only part of the car. But that kind of brings up another issue. This car is matte black and shadow chrome. And if you know anything about BRE, their colors are typically red, white, and blue. And so a lot of people that are BRE fans or Datsun fans are a little bit raw that this car came in the black and the shadow chrome, and I get that. I wasn't super familiar with BRE, even though I know I'd seen that, and it just didn't really dawn on me that that was always their like pretty much only color scheme. So I kind of get why that's a problem. If that doesn't matter to you, I think you will like the setup. And even if it does matter to you, maybe it's still, a nice homage in your eyes. Go ahead and point out, let's see, I did notice several mistakes on here, errors I'm going to call them. But if you notice, this right here looks like it says BRL. That is supposed to be BRE. So I don't know if paint's not sticking to the shadow chrome good or what the deal is, but there's several mistakes like that that I'll point out as we go through. I will say the camera picks up some details on this car that I have a hard time seeing with my naked eye. You can see it says Datsun there, kind of above the Goodyear and the Valvoline. You can't hardly see that with your eye, or at least I can't. So pretty cool there. We have some matte black stripes, 00 on the door. Really good detail here. I think they had a nice wheel choice. The red axle caps look really cool here. One problem I've seen people complain about was these mirrors being red. I don't really care either way. I think it would have been fine if they were black, but I really think what might have popped is if they had done these in shadow chrome as well. Initially, I thought it would be cool if they just did the whole thing in black and moved this lettering and striping to white. And I still think I would have liked that, but as you can see as we go through, I think the shadow chrome does do some good things for this car. Going ahead and looking at the interior, you see the seats are black with some red accents. Of course, we have the red roll cage here. This is the same, I think, as the mainline casting inside. We have gauge clusters there, quite a bit of gauges. And moving along, you see another paint error here. This is supposed to be black, but it's chipped or the paint just didn't adhere at all. Unfortunate. I had to look at this really closely. The camera actually picks this up better than my eyes too. The headlights almost look like inserts on this car, but they're actually painted. Nice detail on the turn signal lamps. You can see down here on this paint there's a little bit of drippage. So yet another little bit of an error with some paint. Move up toward the hood. We have the 00 in silver. Datsun in red. Looks really good. Top of the car, the entire top is this matte black. You can see this gauge cluster definitely better from the top here. A little bit more of the roll cage. You can see this spare tire well. I believe that's what that's supposed to be there. And on the back here, another thing that the camera picks up, it's so small it's kind of hard to read, but it's in very nice detail. Datsun 240Z. Moving to the back, of course, we have the XOXO on the license plate, an homage to the double zeros. Also have some pretty nice detailing here painted on the tail lights and turn signals, as well as some paint on the exhaust pipe. A lot of lint kind of on this one for some reason. So this side, pretty much the same as the other. Of course, you can see the BRE is as it's supposed to be on this side on the quarter panel. I think that's pretty much got everything from the outside. Definitely a really good looking casting. And you can see from the top here, the shadow chrome definitely makes these fender flares pop. Also from the back, I think where it's matte black, you see the wheel size or the tire size is really nice here. Had this been matte black, I think this all kind of would have blended together. I think I still would have liked it, but it definitely pops more this way. So kudos to the designers for thinking of that. One last thing, and perhaps one of the more important to you, is the engine bay. This does have an opening hood. I will say this hood was very hard to open. I've opened it a few times now, so it's a little bit easier. But as a tip for you out there, if it's your first time and you have a hard time opening it, put a little bit of pressure on the front and it should pop up a little bit. Mine did not pop up that much the first time. I had to kind of put my finger here, lift up, and then stick my thumbnail back under the front, kind of lift and rock back and forth as you're lifting. You can see here that after the back end pops up a little bit, this hinge, you can kind of pull it up and it pops out, and then you can move it on forward. So it doesn't just pull up and forward, or forward I should say. This hinge in the front moves up and down. So you have to do the whole kind of shebang there. So just be mindful of that, especially when you first open it. You'll think you're going to break the hood, and to be honest with you, if you do it wrong, you probably could break the hood. So hopefully that is a little bit of a helpful tip for you. But you can see it opens here to a really nice, very detailed engine bay. Of course, Datsun on the valve cover there, matte black. A lot of good detail on the headers and the intake. Also see some cooling components there. So really nice, really detailed engine bay. Definitely a highlight of the car, I think. Overall, a really well done car. Unfortunate that you have a few of these little paint mistakes, but I think you can tell they put a lot of work into the design on this car. If you're a 240 fan, I think you're really going to like it. So let's see, one other thing here. I think that's it for the overview and the criticisms that I've seen. If there's anything I missed out or anything else you'd like to know, be sure to leave that in the comments. Be happy to answer that for you. One other thing I want to do before we go, this is the only other casting I have handy of this car. And this came from the import 6-pack that I picked up on sale at Kroger the other day. Of course, this is not a premium. It's just a little bit above a main line with the detail. But you can see the body lines are basically the same, other than the mirrors being cast in here, other than like a separate piece. And the interior is cast, or molded, I guess you should say, pretty much exactly the same. Probably is the exact same. But you can definitely tell here what that shadow chrome does. Helps keep the fender flares from being blended in so much. And, very nice casting here. But you can see some of the extra work that they do put into the RLC cars. A lot of extra detail on that. Of course, there is a cost associated with that, but just kind of wanted to compare the two, especially for those of you out there who do have a mainline version of this. Just see how much of a difference there is and whether or not that's worth it to you, get that extra detail, right? Especially with things like wheel flops and people doing customs and things like that. I do think this is a very nice casting. I think if you wanted it, if you're a 240 fan, definitely worth picking up. So, guys, appreciate y'all watching so far. If you're interested in seeing more unboxing and review videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Definitely have some of those coming up. Hope y'all are having a good week. Happy hunting, y'all.